8-bit breakdown.
Welcome back to 8-bit breakdown, everybody. This is episode 3, part 2 of our deep dive in the Doom franchise. Two. Dose. The last episode.
For our Spanish listeners.
Dose. So, last episode we broke down the classics: Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 64, Doom 3. We talked about some of the will it run Doom, everything from ATM machines to pregnancy tests. But today, we're deep diving into the lore heavy side of the series. We'll start with Doom 64, kind of where we kicked off, last time. I know we made mention of that. Its connection into Doom 2016 and how it leads into Doom Eternal. And to top it off, the icing on the cake and what we're all expecting, what we expect of Doom, the Dark Ages, that's right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're into ripping and tearing and quite possibly one of the most metal protagonists in a game, let's get into it. So without further ado, as always, I'd like to introduce Kevin Moore, our host here. That's the host with the most.
Dude, I fucking knew you were going to say that. I was like,
Did you?
here's the host with the most. Beetlejuice, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's Beetlejuice. It's definitely Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Hold on, man.
You know what? I was really, I really like talking about the old school Dooms. And I think it's because we just grew up with them. But I am really looking forward to kind of deep diving in these because this is my... This was a treat when 2016 came out. I don't think anyone expected this game to be as badass as it was. So,
No.
But I will say before that, Mike, what are you listening to, man? Let's do the quickie. What are you listening to?
Oh, so I'm currently listening to Aqua. You may be familiar with them from Barbie Girl. No, definitely not listening to that bullshit. Right now, I'm currently listening to "Look at Yourself," the album from Amur.
Ooh,
not sure if you're familiar with that album. Came out in 2017. I believe this is so. Amur has kind of gone through some different phases, but I think this is like with their most current lineup or when they changed lineups. But it's very. Of course, I mean, we all, or for those of you that don't know Amur, they're very heavy. I mean, I'd like to say metalcore, but there's really no singing most of the time with them. But I feel like this album kind of has like a new metal essence to it. So it's new, like a new metalcore kind of sound. There's definitely, it's just not straight like hardcore or metalcore or deathcore. There's definitely some nuances in there of that makes it really unique. So if you haven't listened to it, I definitely suggest it. It's very short. It's something you could listen to like, oh wow, I'm on like my second run of it, but it's short and to the point, and it's a solid album. So if you definitely haven't heard, I'd totally suggest it.
How they were always in the hardcore vein to me.
Yeah,
like they had some death in there, but definitely kind of stayed around the hardcore genre.
For sure.
Everything I've heard them for as long as I've known them. But no, me, it's going to be a little weird. Not metal, but there's this
Iggy Azalea.
There's this band that came out back in the 90s called Aqua that is...
Wait,
you see
me too. Me too.
No, so So this band Anne Berlin that I grew up with came out with an album 2005. Never Take Friendship Personal is an awesome album. Doesn't matter if if you're a metalhead, you've probably heard of Anne Berlin at some point in your lives, just hearing them or hearing of them. But they got the Steven Christensen, the singer, is gone. He ended up leaving, and Maddie Mullins from Memphis May Fire is now actually doing the singing. And I'll tell you, I didn't think it would be that great, hearing like, I don't want to say childhood, but like an album that I really grew up with, or a band that I kind of grew up with. I did not think great things about it, but man, they just re-recorded that album from 2005, Never Take Friendship Personal. And dude, Maddie's got a great fucking voice, man. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't like the guy or not. Like, you just can't. Live, he kills it. On this album, the whole band kills it. The production is just so much better than the 2005 version. The drums are just awesome. The guitars, there's a lot more like dive bombs with their guitars now. But it's good, man. It's just wild because it's Amber Lynn still, but it Maddie brings that like almost metalcore aspect to it, the way he like sings. There's actually some screams in there, and you can tell, dude, you can tell the whole band was just like, dude, Maddie, you should scream this part. He's just like, okay. But it's cool. He didn't do the same thing that Steven did. And I like that, man. It's just, I'm really impressed. I didn't think I was going to be, I thought I wasn't going to think highly of it. So yeah. Is it going to be what I'm going to listen to in Doom while I'm playing any of the Doom games? Probably not. I'd probably listen to Memphis May Fire if that was the case. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm listening to right now. So with that being said, Mike, I'm going to let you kick it off. There's a little bit that I can talk about with there's a lot that I can talk about with 2016. But tell me, my biggest question to you is, because this is what how I thought. When I first played Doom 2016, there was a moment where, and I think you and I talked about it. There was a moment where I said, I think we were talking about it or something, and I think maybe you hadn't picked it up yet. And I told you, I said, dude, there's so much to do in this game as far as like what to keep in mind, like your flamethrower, your bombs, your guns, like it's your health, your armor. I was like, this game like kind of stresses me out a little bit. Like, it gives me anxiety because there's so many different things, and don't let people fool you. Like, Doom 2016 is not a remake. Like, this, when they say a reboot, like, you have the arena shooting in here, but dude, fucking heart pumping, like, just go. And the fact that metal's playing the entire time just makes it.
Oh yeah, Mick Dorgan?
Chef's kiss. Oh, dude, crushes it. Yeah, Australian, mate.
Is he Australian? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know how many people know about. There was a whole, downfall with Mick and the ID thing. Without, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer during the episode, but man, I'll tell you, he absolutely so he did that, and he did Doom Eternal.
Yeah, he understood the assignment.
He definitely aced the assignment. Yeah. Like, it's absolutely, I mean, there's times where I'll just go on, Spotify and just pull up the Doom Eternal album. And just, I mean, there's some of the select songs like BFG. There's this one, the song that Alex Terrible covered. Have you heard that? Oh, dude, that song just rips and tears, dude.
I mean, it's in the game. It's in the name pretty much now.
So, yeah, I didn't know what to expect going, when Doom 2016 came out, but it takes some, there's definitely like a mastery to that game of like figuring out and switching out like your weapons and switching from like shotgun to like, you know, to like rocket launcher, and like just there's this whole sequence of like things that you have to figure out. And it's definitely a mastery, I feel like, versus just kind of what we've expect from Doom in the past, where it's just like pull out your favorite gun and go for it, you know, sort of thing. I mean, some bosses, you know, might needed something a little different to power through it. But yeah, this was like a complete different, like it's challenging. It's challenging, but in a good way. It's still fun. Like you can get through it without like you can just play like the regular game, normal to hard-ish, without going too crazy, and just without getting too crazy with weapon switching and flying around and, you know, jumping around and stuff and side strafing and dashing. Then you have dashes and all this now where you can kind of like, you know, swash back and forth and
fucking
slow down, switch your guns. Yeah. Oh, but it's good, man. It's and then we had the glory kills. Yeah, the whole glory kill introduction. Yeah, that's
right, because that's how you got more health. you get more health from
more
glory
ammo.
kills, dude.
Yeah, I think it was dependent on. It was dependent on like what.
Oh, maybe your artifacts
or something. Yeah,
I think the artifacts you had on.
Yes,
like
you got depending on what you dropped. Yeah, health or armor or ammo.
Do we have gameplay? Do you have gameplay for it?
I certainly do have some gameplay. You know, I'm over here lacking just I guess. No, yeah, I'm certainly going to put that on.
Dude, it's just awesome. I could watch people play Doom for hours.
Here we got some of the glory kills here. Just that shotgun butt smash. Oh, here's a glory. Yeah, this was definitely some peak. It's this
innovation.
Certainly peak innovation. This like whole new aspect of this. It's almost, I wouldn't say open world, but has a very open world feel to it. And this,
a lot more. I wouldn't say exploring to a point, but it feels like the levels are more spread out than being contained in a, you know, like a tiny facility or something along.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will say one of my biggest things that I loved most about Doom, and most first-person shooters in general, especially sci-fi shooters, old school shooters, my favorite part about them is always the weapons. Like the enemy design is always cool. Like I've always liked that. Bosses are fun. But the weapon design has always been something that I kind of grew up with, like seeing different weapons and everything. And Painkiller, the game Painkiller that came out many years ago, early 2000s, which was a phenomenal game when it first came out. I forgot about those little collectibles.
Oh yeah, you collect the dolls.
All the little dolls, and you can have it up in your base. But the one thing I liked about Painkiller was that Painkiller, I think you had maybe 5 guns, maybe more. There may have been more. It's been a long time since. Dude, they announced a new fucking Painkiller, by the way. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah,
I didn't hear that.
They were like, well, I guess there needs to be something that competes with Doom. I don't think it's going to compete with Doom, but it's nice to have that option, you know, something else. But so with Painkiller, you had a stake gun that was either a stake, and the alternate fire was a grenade launcher. And then you also had your shotgun was also a freeze ray, like a freeze beam. So you could actually mix and match. You could do a freeze beam and freeze an enemy and then blast them with your shotgun. And it was like a 1-2 punch. And when I saw that Doom started kind of doing that, that was it. That was all she wrote for me. I was like, dude, this is all I need now. I need a shotgun that has a meat hook on it. that I can just rush in, or the my favorite probably is the machine gun, man. The machine gun that has the rockets on it. I just thought that was so cool, and the animation of the chain gun, how it switches and you can do a stationary chain gun and 5 like
Oh
five
yeah.
just barrels come out and you just start shredding, but it just blows your ammo. Um, but I loved that about this game. And what yeah, that was, to me, that was like the best part of the game, hands down, is like unlocking new weapons, being able to upgrade them. You know, we've talked, I'm a big RPG buff, so any sort of upgrading along the way is really, really cool. But what about you? What was your big, not aha moment in this game, but what was your big, like, dude, this game is just fucking awesome? Was it the music?
It was just it's hard to really I mean, for me it's hard to pinpoint exactly what. I mean, this just it took Doom to another level. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
really, I mean, just it took it took it just took Doom to another level. I don't know how to explain it, dude. It's the music, you know, the glory kills, the story in general, just where now we're not dealing with Doom guy anymore. We're dealing with the Doom Slayer.
The
Like
fucking man.
they turn him into this, like, you know, what was Marine, who was like pretty badass, and you know, Mike got a cut on his lip and like wiped it off and got hurt a little bit but kept going. Now he's unstoppable. This unstoppable machine that just, get out of my way, I don't care what anybody has to say, and just wins. But I guess this is where we can kind of segue before we, you know, go off track too much. So, you know, as we were talking about, like, this, speaking of Doomslayer, this segues from Doom 64. So, I mean, we had Doom, you know, Doom 2, and everything in between, Final Doom, all the small expansions and stuff that kind of piece between that. But really, this is the official, Doom 64 is the official canon for this game, and it's for the new series rather. So Doom 64 segues into 2016 Doom Eternal and Doom Dark Ages. So I don't know if you recall, but at the end of Doom 64, you're fighting your way, you know, through the end of it, and then right at the end, you're dealing with the mother demon, which is like the main boss,
the mother of all demons, or whatever it's called. Yeah.
And you beat the mother demon, and at that point, it says, you know, like the screen comes up with all the text, like they've done through all of the years of like what happens next or what he's doing. It states that Doom guy at the time, that you literally stay in hell, because after all of these outbreaks that's happened from the first one and the second one, and I guess just, you know, it's just like, you know what, I'm staying in hell at this point. Here we had to give a shout out to the gentleman here with his Patreon, who's I don't know why they showed that this, but sorry chat.
What just happened?
So there was a Patreon that popped up on the video here. Don't know why.
Was it a bad name? I didn't see it.
No, it just you know, I got some footage here to show, but it was this gentleman. So props to the gentleman that provided this footage here. Anyway, so the end of the game, Doom guy decides to stay in hell and just keep the demons at bay. But the demons try to stop him, but there's no stopping him. He just continues. He continues to fight. He continues to kill as many as he can. From my understanding and how the lore goes, and you know, there's the different chapters you find in especially in Doom Eternal, that speaks more about this aspect. So he's apparently in hell for centuries. I don't know, maybe time differential. Who knows? But he's down there for a long time, killing, and they can't stop him. But it gets to the point where he gets a little bit weak enough that they still can't kill him. Mind you, at this point, he's killed so many that the demons officially call him the Doomslayer while he's in hell. Like, they're absolutely terrified of this guy because he's just unstoppable. So they finally are able to get him beaten down, just a fragment. and they put him in a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
So at this point, this is kind of where, you know, you wake up in Doom 2016. Mind you, I mean, the game's, you know, way later, but it's at that point where you're waking up out of that sarcophagus and then you just start killing. So if you remember, and for those that don't know, the intro of 2016 is like you waking up saying you're being summoned again, and you're just waking up out of the sarcophagus where, you know, shit's hitting the fan again, and you just commence killing again.
Yeah, and in 2016 you're on Mars. This is where
Yes.
you're on Mars. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is I believe it was Dr. Hayden, was it?
Dr.
Samuel
Hayden is the dude, great voice actor, by the way, and I feel bad that I don't have his name. Right? Yeah, Dr.
Yeah, I
Hayden.
forgot
Dr. Hayden. Like a really
Mhm.
great voice, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, super cool voice.
Yeah, that was awesome. He's got a voiceover voice. Big time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he wakes you up, and that's basically the only narration you have is him speaking to you. And I think that's the goal, at least after you wake up, is to go meet up with him. Like he's trying to get you to come meet up with him, I believe, because it's been a while since I played the 2016.
They're actually trying to use you, if I recall correctly. Like they're trying to control you, because the whole thing is Dr. Hayden's obsessed with that ardent energy that's on Mars.
Yeah.
And
Argent,
in
Argent energy.
Argent energy. Yeah.
Argent energy.
So in the process of, you know, doing the whole scientific team aspect of it and getting the Argent energy, they find the sarcophagus with you in it. And they're like, oh, this is the guy that's all these stories are based after. So they're like, well, I wonder if we can control him like we can control the Argent energy. Well, that's not the case. as we find out. But yeah, so, you know, with Doom 2016, you wake from your sarcophagus. The UAC's been harvesting Argent energy again, and as usual, causes a demonic breach, like from the first games. But yeah, there's definitely hints through this game that you've been fighting for centuries, you know, at this point before they found you. You know, you find your Praetor suit, which is of, at the time, mysterious origins that you don't really know about, like where it's from. Yeah, you start learning that a little bit more in Doom Eternal, kind of like why he has this badass suit. That, you know, it's very notorious from like the newer Dooms moving forward. But yeah, so at that point, I mean, without doing too much spoiler,
we're gonna have spoilers in here.
There's definitely
we're gonna have spoilers. If you don't want spoilers, I'll tell you, just turn the podcast off. We're gonna talk about spoilers. That's what we do here on this chat.
Well, we're spoiling it for you. So if I recall correctly, maybe you can kind of help me guide through this. But I've played Doom Eternal so many times, and this, I mean, I played a lot too. But then once Doom Eternal came out, I played that a good couple times. I think I beat it 3 times. This I definitely played through and then picked it up and kind of, you know, here and there would like play certain save points and stuff. But if I recall correctly, there was the one doctor or scientist, so Olivia, what was her name? Do you recall her name? It was Olivia something. But she was also...
This talks a lot about Vega. You need to get to Vega's core.
So I know there was this Olivia Breeden or something. If my memory's correct here. and she's obsessed with hell. So I know she's kind of like aside from Dr. Hayden.
Dr. Pierce.
Is Olivia Pierce, maybe? I thought it was an Olivia. That's where I was kind of going at with that. But anyway, so there was a female doctor that was obsessed with the whole aspect of hell. And I know by the end of the game, she's, kind of getting lured more and more into this whole hellish landscape and ends up becoming that spider at the end, which I hate.
The spider mind.
The spider mind.
And
absolutely.
Her name is Olivia Pierce. Great job.
Olivia Pierce.
She's a protege of Dr. Hayden's, who developed, I'm not even kidding you, quote, who developed crippling scoliosis. I know it's not funny. It's not funny. It's just the fact that they have to say crippling on it. It's just bad scoliosis. Just
absolutely
bone
crippling.
Dealing with tons of bone tremors. Just but yeah, she was into she led the UAC's research into biomechanics. And she became she definitely became obsessed. Made a pact with the demons to open a portal between Mars and Hell, and allowed the demons to conquer humanity.
Yes.
And so Hayden was the one trying to control you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of... Yeah. It was... No one was good.
No one was good in this situation.
No one was good in this except Doomslayer.
Yeah, Doomslayer is... as much as he's killing, he's still...
God bless him, man. He could do no wrong.
He can't do any wrong, dude.
He's doing God's work. Quite literally.
Technically, yeah. Technically is.
Yeah. I mean, he's at the... I look at him, I mean, in this like storyline, I kind of look at him as like a really badass archangel just coming and just tearing everything apart.
Yeah, I don't think he has any position on it other than...
No.
Other than he's just pissed, dude. He's absolutely pissed.
He needs to stop this invasion. Earth is decimated at this point. Like there's nothing to save. He's just he has a grudge. He's pissed. And he wants to sit down on a planet and not have to worry about an invasion.
Yeah.
Or anybody really, because everybody tries to double cross this guy.
So I believe there is they do touch a little bit and it goes way, way deeper. But I know at some point you start realizing that you're part of the, like where your Praetor suit comes from is part of this whole like race of the Night Sentinels.
Yeah.
And all that. But you start and it's like, okay. And you start getting these little pieces of information of, how he has his suit, why he's so badass, how he went from just this average Marine guy to just the ultimate badass.
Well, I think that with that being said, I think that'll segue us into Doom Eternal. Because I think that's when we really start getting into the lore of previous of the Night Sentinels and more of the really more of the backstory.
Yeah. So it's kind of ending it with Doom 2016. So, you end up killing Olivia. That stops the invasion by doing so. At that point, Hayden betrays you. You're kind of wanting to put a stop to this, Argent energy, but he sees it as like a necessary evil to like continue to work on and how powerful it is and that it's needed. So through a sequence of events, he ends up teleporting you away and kind of leaves the story open at that point where you think you've accomplished something. You accomplished ending the game, that you're getting ready to end this whole like evil, and then literally Samuel Hayden teleports you away and you just don't know what happens at that point. So Doom Eternal rolls around and it's the whole opening sequence of, at this point, with an unset amount of time, Earth is under full scale invasion by hell. I think at the beginning they were saying that like 60% of the population's dead and that hell is completely taken over Earth. So at this point, you're now, as the Doomslayer, you have your fortress of doom, your floating like castle that's like just like a spaceship / castle, space citadel, if you will, orbiting the Earth. And at this point, you know, it does go into a little bit of story, and then it starts explaining it more that you're to eliminate these hell priests, because the hell priests are really the main figure heads on different points of the Earth where that they're causing so much, you know, these invasions to happen in these pockets of hell to keep like thriving through Earth.
With the hell priests, I'm wondering if, and I don't know how much lore they go into, but I do know that it looks like in Doom Eternal that the UAC is completely corrupted at this point. Like UAC just doesn't exist anymore because it's just completely corrupted from the quote unquote the demonic hordes. So I'm wondering if the Hell Priests might be kind of like the Spider Mastermind. I wonder if the Hell Priests are, and probably not, but I'm wondering if they might be UAC personnel that maybe have lived for just so long, because the UAC clearly had been around for centuries at this point. I just wonder if they were like scientists or something that ended up making pacts with whatever. I don't know. Maybe not. Just thought.
So if I'm not, they are,
because they have names.
They
only
were
ones that have names.
They were part of the, I'm pretty sure they were in part of the Night Sentinels, if I'm not mistaken, because you've played Doom Eternal, right? Or
only twice. Only twice. I played it when it first came out, and then I played it again on harder mode.
So as you get closer towards the end, he starts having like crazy flashbacks,
like the flashbacks. Yeah.
And at that point, and this is where I think, I don't want to go too far into it, but I think we start seeing some connections with Dark Ages, like in here, right? Maybe a little bit before Dark Ages happens, where they find Doomslayer like just battered and broken, I believe on the planet of Urdok, and he's just half dead at this point. And they're like, who is this guy? And then he wakens up, he's like, must kill the Jeeves, and he's just like freaking out still and still wanting to kill. But I think the Hell Priest had a big, you know, I could be wrong, and, you know, chat or whoever wants to chime in on this and send us a mail, but I'm pretty sure that the priest were, before they got corrupted, were part of the Night Sentinels, if I'm not mistaken. And it was later on, there's a lot of backstabbing and double crossing that happens for not only the Night Sentinels that took Doomslayer in, their species got wiped out for the most part because of a previous invasion of hell. But the ones that were left over were highly corrupted by hell. So fast forwarding, this is where we have these hell priests now that are essentially corrupted and leading these invasions of hell, and so to speak, you're resurrecting these various pockets of hell to happen. But this is definitely where, as mentioned, you know, the lore, the deeper origin starts coming from Doom Eternal, and where they start speaking of, you know, once he was this mortal man from another world, and he arrived in,
he's now a god among them.
Yeah, he arrived in Argent D'Nur, and that's where the Hell Priest or the priest rather, first resided. So they bring him in and they're like, well, let's see if this guy's worth a damn. And so they put him in like a coliseum and just see that he pretty much demolishes like 10 people at a crack that are just fighting against him, and he just doesn't stop.
Now you basically do that in Doom Eternal at a point. If I do remember that correctly, you are put in and I think it is, it's on a different planet, and you are like in this like ring, and you just start fighting like random enemies, like just groups of enemies.
Those are all the like I guess we could say like entry level Night Sentinels that are like working up their ranks. So yeah, he just beats the shit out of all of them and just wants to fight more, like regardless of how many, like how he's getting hit and beat, and he just does, and there he's just putting everybody else down. So they're like, okay, we're gonna make you a Night Sentinel, and we're gonna put you on the front lines.
Sounds good. You passed.
So he becomes essentially they're not even, part of the race that was the Night Sentinels. It's just this average guy rises through the ranks and becomes literally the fiercest of them all.
General,
and
so to speak.
Pretty much. Just throw this man on the front line and he takes care of most of it. So time passes, and then there's a lot kind of going on, and I don't want to butcher it, but I know there was a couple different races where in the beginning there was 2 races that formed. There were some of like the 2 original races. There was one, I forgot their name, and then the ones that really matter in Doom Eternal called the Maykrs. I don't know if you remember that race. It was kind of like robotic. Like they like you went to this planet and they were like white with like gold like faces.
That's where I feel like I remember doing that Coliseum thing, because that's where you have the Con Maker.
Yes. So the Con Maker. So the Maykrs were a creation by what was his name? Deimos, or he was essentially the devil at the end of the game. But Deimos was actually also the creator of all. Like there is technically in the Doom series, there is no like, let's say, to compare and contrast, like if we look at religion, there's no like God and the devil. It's that there is a God, and that God turned corrupt because he was angry at a series of events that was unfolding. So he made 2 races. He made a race at the beginning that was like a planet full of people that were quote unquote made in his image. They started thriving. They made a civilization. It was like a beautiful civilization. But their one flaw was the simple fact that they were mortal and they would die. So it made him really I guess he was so in tune with these people that
so fucking pissed.
Yeah, he was very pissed, dude. So he got it I guess to the way the lore is explained, by each one of those people that died, it actually felt like he was dying. So what he ended up doing was making a completely different parallel universe and makes the Maykrs. So they are...
Seems legit.
Right. So he makes the Maykrs, and the Maykrs are far more advanced. I mean, they're like half robot, like essentially, but they do die, but they live, they outlive, which we could think, yes. I mean, what you could think is like my only guess is like the people that he first created were almost like humans, like, but they would die. And then he made the Maykrs with the sole intent that how quickly they could learn and build up their civilization. I mean, they made some of they made inventions that almost they could see into the future past what he could see. So they could see, depending on the path of in series of events that's happening in their universe and with their creator, if he was going to continue down a certain path, they could see like, okay, this is what's going to happen. But the whole intent he made them was to find a way to be able not for these mortals to not die, to pretty much give them immortality. So he wanted them to live as long as he did. Well, they didn't do that. They continued to, build their civilization. They tried. There was nothing that they came close to it, but they would still die. And he became extremely angry and bitter and very sour for some reason.
Fucking sour, dude.
So what ends up happening is he gets essentially more and more corrupt as more of them die. He starts feeling it more. The Maykrs, with some of the inventions that they had, and as I mentioned, are able to see into the future, they realize the path that he's taken. And it's like, oh shit, like if he keeps going down this path, this isn't good. We need to essentially lock this guy away because he's going to end up killing all of us and the other race if he keeps going down this path.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's the things you create end up rising up against you because there are many storylines there's many stories out there where there's an omnipotent being that wants to shut down and restart. And then you've got the people or the, humans, whatever race or any, life form that's created, they find a way to fight back. And it's like, dude, you can't just wipe us out of existence because you don't like us anymore. Like this is,
that's exactly where it was going. And the Maykrs seen that because again, the technology that they had at this point almost surpassed the level and knowledge of what he could see. And so what ends up happening is they ended up, inventing teleportation and all of this. So they were able to travel between dimensions. So they were able to get him into the other dimension where the mortals were, and they sealed off that entire dimension, locking him out. At this point, there's also other dimensions. So you have like what we could consider our dimension now with Earth and everything like that. And you had the Maykrs, you had the original being. So during this process of, them trying to find immortality and then these other people dying, Deimos did end up making other existences and universes, parallel universes. One of them being, the Earth realm, I guess we could say. The Maykrs lock him in the original realm of where he's at, saying like, okay, you can't come out of this. Like you're going to kill everything if you keep this up. Well, he becomes extremely corrupted at this point, and he gets so from the way the lore breaks out, it's like the amount of anger and hate and just resentment comes out of him and it ends up corrupting the first civilization that he makes. So in theory, what ends up happening is he turns into the devil. So what was God then turns into the devil, and everything at that point in that initial creation that he made becomes hell.
Okay. So paradise. So everything becomes opposite. Paradise becomes
exactly. So it's just from the sheer hate and anger that came out of him, literally corrupted everything and turned it into hell.
Sounds like my household every now and then.
Mein Leben.
Mein Leben.
So that's kind of where hell comes from. So we're wondering where all these like weird, creepy creatures and stuff come from. It's because we had what you end up seeing later in Doom Eternal and the expansions that happen when you end up finding the main devil. It's actually was God at one point in this series, was like the one that created everything from the get-go. And these are all of the things and the hate that that spewed from him of not being able to find immortality for the initial race that he had. So they ended up becoming immortal, but not in the way that he wanted them to from the get-go.
That he wanted.
Yeah.
So
this is why we have hell.
So segueing from the lore for a second, what did Doom Eternal do differently that Doom 2016 didn't do?
I think it gave us, so you did have your dashing and your your super shotgun. I mean, you had the mechanics that we already talked about, but I feel like this brought like a whole new aspect of like platforming, like where you would jump, like using like your grapple to pull yourself up to like different like levels. So you had to platform a lot more in this game versus the original one. So I feel like it brought a new dynamic of not only now that you're moving really fast, but you had to like move fast at multiple levels of like, different platforms and like bringing yourself up and jumping down. That's kind of my take on it, is that it still had the same consistency and speed, but it added more depth for sure than the first game. It was like the first game almost teased this lore, but then this game exploded the lore and then just added a whole new, the mechanics of platforming like through these different levels that you were going through.
I will say when I picked up Doom Eternal, like I knew what to expect because you saw from, it was all over the place. You couldn't not see something about this game before it was released. And I said, okay, here comes my anxiety again because I'm going to be having to pick and do all these things. So this is where they added the grenade launcher. So now you have a flamethrower grenade launcher. You have glory kills. I mean, it was just, and then you got your, I think the Crucible, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so you finally get the Crucible. So that you almost had it from from 2016, but then Hayden took it from you. I don't know if you remember that, like at the end, but you finally get it. Yeah.
So there's just so much. There was so much more in this game, but the thing I didn't touch on and what I really did like about this game, going back to what I said about Doom 2016 and the weapons, the one thing that it's the smallest nitpicking thing in the world, but games like the older boomer shooter games and those kind of things, when they give you an abundance of ammo, why use any other weapon when you can just use the same one over and over again? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you one thing I loved about these games is that it forces you. You cannot beat this game. Now, we may talk about this in a second with Dark Ages, but you cannot beat these games by just using a shotgun. Because what? The shotgun has 8 shots, maybe, in it. And then you got to switch to your machine gun, hope you get ammo for your shotgun, and then you switch back to your shotgun, and then you have your flamethrower. And I mean, I loved that fast pace. It makes you explore weapons a lot more, and it really gets you to, like you said, the mastery of it all. It really forces you to, hey, when you switch to this weapon, you've got to use it this way. If you switch to this weapon, you've got to use it this way. If you don't want your rockets to hurt you, you need to like set it up so it doesn't hurt you. You know what I mean? I just thought that was
100%. Yeah. I mean, as you're saying that, I'm like, we're watching, have the footage up on the screen for those that are listening through just the sound only. But that is exactly what Kevin's explaining. You're watching this guy literally flip through his weapons.
yeah. Because I mean, you may have 2 rockets. You better use them and then switch back to your rail gun or your Gatling gun or something. And I just thought that was cool. Like I love, and I think they did that. I think they knew what they were doing by doing that, by limiting ammo, because from the outside looking in, it seems like a burden that you're doing it. And maybe it is, but I think at the end of it all, when you've completed it, you get to realize like, oh yeah, I used all of those weapons in the game. Like there's not a weapon you can skip in this.
No, you just had to.
Yeah. And you had the fucking chainsaw. The chainsaw as well. The chainsaw is what you got that's where you got all your ammo from. Is your chainsaw. You got your fuel that you need
Yeah.
that you need for your chainsaw, dude. What stress inducing, man. I'm telling you, just if you're a perfectionist or you have any sort of I don't want to say ADD, but almost like if you better be a good multitasker to play this game, because that is really what you need to really think it out big time, or else you're going to be hurting when you go to the next like arena area in this game.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's, I mean, it becomes muscle memory. I mean, it's more and more you play it, but yeah, it just becomes a thing that you need to master for sure.
But that's why I think when I was saying earlier, like I could watch people play this, it's almost like an art watching someone go into an arena, because that's what, these new Doom games are. They are, you go into arena, you're going to be fighting 100 enemies, like that are just going to keep regenerating, or they're going to keep coming back, and you're always going to keep fighting more and more and more. So there's like little arenas that you're going to be in, but it's just awesome. It's almost like a dance, like an art. And because you talk about cool clips, like you really get everything down. I mean, especially on the PlayStation. I mean, there were times where I would do a run, I would just get wrecked. And then I would have to think like, okay, I need armor, so I've got to use my flamethrower. Maybe I'll use my grenade this time. I'll switch over to my ice grenade or something. And I would go through and I would destroy everything in that arena. And I was jumping, doing your double jumps. I was dashing. I was switching to rockets. I would, you start doing these things that it is just so fucking badass. And I would hit that save button or hit that share button, and I'd save that clip. And those clips are just so cool to see because it's so fast paced. And if you've never played the game, you have no idea what's going on. Like, it would just hurt your head trying to watch someone play this with everything going on. But it's just cool, like how you, like the learning curve. It's not a bad learning curve. Like, it's fun. It's a fun stress. If that makes sense. No, it's a fun anxiety to have. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, we have our different takes on this, but it's not like, Dark Souls stressful.
You want to talk about lore? I do 50 parts. I'll do Dark Souls lore.
Oh, so yeah,
we got time.
You do a Dark Souls. Dark Souls. No, you do
Dark Souls.
You do that, and I can bring the Metal Gear. I'll make somebody's head hurt.
There we go.
With Metal Gear lore. Yeah.
There we go. And what we'll do is we'll actually put both of them together. So I will do a podcast of nothing but everything from even prior to Demon Souls. I can't remember the FromSoft game that they made about a tower. Forgotten Tower, maybe, I can't remember. And we'll go all the way to Elden Ring. And I'll do that. And then you can do one about Metal Gear Solid, all the way from the original Metal Gear all the way to
with those Souls games, does that actually do they tie together without going too much? Okay.
No. Okay. They have a 75-80% of them have a I want to say Easter egg, but they have a sword basically that connects them all together. But no, the lore is not the same. Even the Dark Souls games, like they have 1 and 3 are part of the same universe. Dark Souls 2 is not. It's in its own. And Elden Ring is
okay.
Oh, dude, I could do some Sekiro. Dude, Bloodborne, favorite game of all time, man. If anybody's listening to this and you like Bloodborne and you want a PC 60 frames remaster, let's do it. That's what we need. Sorry, it's from my boys out there.
He's excited.
This one's for the fucking boys out there. They know what I'm talking about. But so anyways, okay. So Doomslayer is so does he, because he doesn't speak at all, right?
He
says something, right? In Doom Eternal.
Right at the end.
He says,
so
"My." He
my
says,
lady.
"My dude, I fucking do it." Takes his hat off. My Leben.
It's BJ
Takes his hat off. It's fucking BJ Blazkowicz. Yeah. His fucking head
No,
put back
so
on again for the 10th time.
We'll kind of sum it up. So like at the end of the game, what ends up happening is, I'm saying Deimos. It's Davoth is the devil. So it's revealed to be the creator of hell, and you are actually a spitting image of him. You end up, so you were predestined this entire time from birth until the Mars outbreak, until you fighting the devil, the demons and Mars and staying there and to where you're at this point. That was your destiny altogether there from the get-go. So there was this weird motive that Davoth had to bring you into this. So what ends up happening is you being a mirror of him. One cannot exist without the other. So what ends up happening is, like, at the end, you finally meet Davoth. It's explained to you that you were like a mirror of him. So speaking of like the talks, if I recall correctly, it's like you finally beat Davoth and he's explaining to you all of this like backstory, pretty much of some of this stuff I've already explained now, of how he's created everything and how he essentially created you as like this parallel to essentially, that would that could swing either way that he would want to. I know it gets very like deep at this point, but essentially we know he ends up getting corrupt, and it's like you could almost join him at this point, but of course, Doomslayer wants no parts of this. So he beats the shit out of Davoth. And at the end, and he was like, Davoth's laying on the ground, and he's like, have you nothing to say to your creator? And Doomslayer takes his helmet off, and he has his what's his sword, his crucible in his hand, and he stares at him for a second, and he goes, no, and just slices his head off. That's the only thing he says. He says no one time.
What else needs to be said?
Yes. He's
proved through action.
Literally looking at what we could consider God in this story. Have you nothing to say to your creator? No. And just kills him. Like what a concept.
Wow.
So what's kind of crazy is you don't really know what happens after this. So by you,
now this was part of the Ancient Gods DLC, right?
Yeah, correct.
This was Ancient Gods Part 2 DLC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this kind of sums up the story at that point. But by you killing him, it a part of you, let's say, dies. You don't actually die, but like the strength and the everything that you've gathered so far, as far as like being super fast and almost inhuman, and being able to take on all these the hell, leaves you, because now he's gone, and now like the demons start going away, and there's like I know it shows like a point on Earth where people are behind this car getting ready to get attacked by an imp, and the imp just like starts starts shaking and convulsing and just turns into like ash and like flies. So it's at that point, by you killing him, stops the entire Earth invasion. And then you end up getting sealed away back into the sarcophagus, and it's like, until you're needed again, this is where you stay. But you don't really know what happens at that point. It's like, does Davoth come back? is there another iteration of hell we don't know about? But it's like part of you is now gone that made you so like crazy and strong, but you also get locked away back in the sarcophagus, so you don't actually die, but it leaves the story open-ended. At that point, it's like at some point there could be a point in history and time where the Doomslayers needed to be called again, and when they do, you know where to find him, in the sarcophagus.
So clearly that's where they're going to end up going. But Dark Ages is, and I guess that'll be our final segue into the Dark Ages, because we don't have a ton of info on this game yet. Comes out May 15th, so in 2 months. The which I'm playing all of these, by the way. Again, Doom 64, I'm halfway through, and going to do 2016 and Doom Eternal again, including Ancient Gods, which Mike has been on my ass. He's been riding my ass for years to play, so I know he's excited about that. But Doom Dark Ages is a prequel to Doom 2016, so we learn, I guess we're going to learn a little bit more about is this do we know if it's prior to the sarcophagus, or is this maybe memory he doesn't remember, or maybe that we just don't know about, that he's going to be like how he becomes a Night Sentinel, or how like it really started? Maybe. What are you thinking?
I know. So again, yeah, it's definitely a prequel. My guess. So we know that the Night Sentinels end up getting wiped out based on Doom Eternal. And I
do you
think
have gameplay for Dark Ages, or do you just have the
yes
the
I
trailer?
do. Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, it looks nice,
and
man.
this is going to be excited with this man's shield. The whole shield, like the medieval aspect of this is kind of, they did a really good job with like kind of integrating this. It seems almost medieval, but it's,
so
for our standards.
You know what I'm really excited about this, cutting away from the lore for a second. I never understood, like after playing Quake and Quake 2, and then growing up and going online and seeing what these like genres were, I didn't realize that the first Quake was supposed to be it was considered a dark fantasy game. And there was supposed to be a lot more use of like magic and those kind of things. And I think that's where Heretic and Hexen really came out as far as like a dark fantasy game. Those games were much more in line on that. And because I didn't even think about it until I read what the writers and everything, the developers, was trying to do. They were like, yeah, we want to do more of a fantasy, like a dark fantasy aspect. And I was like, dude, I didn't realize, like, I'm fucking stoked for that, man. So like, I'm really looking for that, like what you see in this video right now, like the really like cool, like hallways, like where big tables are there, where like big important people like knights would be, and like trees like that. I mean, we've never seen this color. We've never seen that color in Doom before, like that dark green or something like that, like a swamp almost. So I'm really excited I'm excited for the whole thing, because dude, what is he like, just shredding bones right there and just tossing them right back out? Dude, I don't know what's going on.
Dude.
Like, put his skulls in and then just
shooting skull fragments at things, dude. So yeah, I'm excited, man. My idea of what this is, and again from Doom Eternal and what we know so far is the Night Sentinels end up fighting this crazy war with hell, and that ends up wiping them out. And I feel like, I don't know, I would assume at this point, or maybe during the game at some point, and what they talk about in Doom Eternal is there's a transformation that the Maykrs put him through in this thing called the Divinity Machine. I don't know if you remember that from Doom Eternal. And that's what kind of gives him this crazy raw power of like being essentially like immortality, super speed, super strength. Like, so every Night Sentinel was put into this Divinity Machine to see if they could find who would be like the betrayer, essentially, without going too much more into the lore of Eternal, but they switch the polarity, and one of the Maykrs end up putting him in the Divinity Machine, and it gives him like immortality and all this because they already know that he was like probably the last chance to stop this hell invasion. So I don't know at what point, if this already happens during the Dark Ages, like he's already gone through the machine and that's why he's still like super badass and can, beat all these demons, or if he's still mortal and he's just beginning to transform into this god tier being. But I know it has to take place during the full on assault where hell, there's this whole like betrayal of Argent D'Nur, where the Maker race ends up becoming corrupt, or the Calm Maker becomes corrupt because Davoth is feeding like fake information to her, and it ends up turning into this whole like backstabbing story, all because they locked him away from that. And that's why this kind of ties into this, is the Maykrs end up like turning on each other and causing this themselves in a way. This was all part of his plan, because it's like, you've locked me away for so long. So, and with his strength and all of this shit, he ends up like getting, vengeance, so to speak, of feeding this false information out there and causing this hell outbreak to happen again, where he's able to break through the barrier that they created, and shit hits the fan, and the full scale of Argent D'Nur goes into effect with like the now partially corrupt Maykrs and all of this shit. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's definitely going to tie a lot of loose ends that we know about from Doom Eternal, that I feel like's really going to kind of be like, okay, now this makes even more sense of why this happened, so to speak. So
the mechs, the fallen mechs that you find, like I guess the Titans or whatever they called them, Sentinel Primes, were they? I can't remember what it was.
I believe, yeah.
Do you think that's from this war? Because I mean, you see him get into a mech completely and just start fucking things up.
That was part of like the weaponry of the
Great
of the
War or whatever they said. Yeah.
Because
they said that was like all the Great War is like fallen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's all Night Sentinel, weaponry, for their and that's why they're just fucking badass, dude. It seems like, that race just seemed like they were just a warlord race of just like fight. It's almost like the Spartans or something, of like Spartans on crack, but they had, giant mechs and just that was their sole purpose, to just be the ultimate warrior. So yeah, my guess is this is definitely, without us knowing too much, this is during the Night Sentinel battle, and Doom Slayer at this point is before he's locked away in a sarcophagus by the demons. I don't know. At some point he is locked away, that we know, because he in Doom 2016 they he's in a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
So I feel like at some point
you're gonna have to end there.
Yeah, at some point he was in hell, came out, was turned into a badass being, by this Divinity Machine, fights the war on hell, being like even more strong than when he was initially in hell. And they're like, all right, we gotta like hide this guy, because we obviously can't kill him. So they put him in a sarcophagus, and that's where 2016 Eternal happened. So I think this definitely is a whole play on the Night Sentinels falling, and him like fighting it alongside of them before like their ultimate demise. That's my take. That's just my theory. But I guess we'll see. It seems like from what we see so far, that it seems like it's going to be something similar in that vein.
So they want they want this to look like Quake, by the way. The reason I say that is because the nail gun from Quake is in this game. I just saw it in one of the sections. Like the nail gun that has the 2 and it spits out nails. That's Quake. I saw that and I was like, holy shit. They really are so idiots.
I keep seeing the guy in the trailer. And he was like one of the last living Night Sentinels, if I'm not mistaken.
The barbarian looking guy?
Yeah. So do
Yeah.
you remember where he's like Doom Slayer and Doom Eternal ends up like there's one of those like Sentinel Primes that's like half broken down, but he's like
Yes.
living next to it. I keep seeing him in this trailer. So it's like maybe you get to see more of him, I feel like, in this game. I forgot
Yeah,
his name.
it looks like they're trying to introduce more characters. The cutscenes, I mean, there's easily
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 people that are going to have speaking in this. So whereas like the previous ones, it's been very, very little. I know the Hell Priests. I know the Hell Priests spoke in the Doom Eternal, but it was very quick. It was not for very long by any means. Like quips or "damn you," and then you rip. I literally, I think one of them says like some tries to make a smart ass comment or something, and Doomslayer just like rips his head off or something, and like I think that's what happens in one of them. One of the Hell Priests. So, but I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. I look forward to playing this game. People are already up in arms about it because they say that I guess the whole like thing you can beat it with just your shield is like pissing people off, and it's like, dude, just play it differently then,
Yeah,
man.
but
What does that matter?
By the creator, like what was it, the director of the game was saying that, but how easy is it? I mean, we're talking about some guy who's probably been playing like since the early stages of the game. It's like it might, I don't think it's going to be that easy.
Yeah,
we're taking it from a guy who's been developing this game for years.
Put it on easy mode if you want to have a stroll through, man, and you want to do like that's the thing about lore games. Like games that have really deep lore, I'm never one to say that don't make things accessible, man. I'm all about accessibility. If someone could pick this game up that maybe just isn't, that we talked about how stressful this game can be, maybe someone doesn't want to deal with that, dude. Like maybe but like someone watches this podcast is like, dude, I really want to fucking play this game, but I'm not a first person shooter buff. Like, let him play it, man. Like, let him put it on easy mode and let him fucking beat it with a shield. Who cares?
Yeah.
Change it. Doesn't mean you have to. Doesn't mean you have to. Don't get your panties in an uproar. Your panties. So question, I do have a question for you, Mike. We talked about Argent Dinner, but we didn't talk about Argent Lunch or Argent Breakfast.
Argent D'Nur and Argent Breakfast.
And Argent Lunch. That was my dad jokes kicking in.
What I'm actually interested about is this Doom in comparison to the other two does seem a little bit, just from the trailers alone, seems more weighty. Seems like, I mean, you're moving kind of fast, but it seems like you're a little bit more
slower
up close
paced
and personal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it seems like you're going to have to, instead of, because we had our strafing and stuff in Doom 2016 and like moving side to side and taking cover, and then in Eternal we had more platforming and having to like grapple your way up things and climb up, and there was a more flying through the air almost, so to speak. It seems like this
you're
one
flying
is more,
in this game.
Flying with your
on like a demon dragon.
Well, there is that. I'm interested in how that's going to play, but the overall, like you as Doomslayer, it seems like you're a little bit more up close and personal with your shield. You seem a little bit more weighty. It seems like there's going to be a lot more. Just the overall
close
thing
combat.
Of it seems like it's a little more, close combat, little bit more weighty than you dodging and taking cover and flying through the air and stuff. It just seems like you're just more grounded.
That's the nail gun right there.
Oh,
it might be a plasma cannon, but that's the exact same damn thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. I know exactly. Yep, that is.
So I'm everything they're at least showing now looks a lot more tight knit. Even the open world parts with the trees, or the outside parts with the trees, make it look like it's much more confined, which dude, I'm okay with that. And we say that, then we play the game. We're like, yeah, we were completely wrong about this.
This is dog shit. No, we can't say that. We can't say that yet.
No, just as far as like fast paced, like we'll play it.
Yeah, no,
we're like, it's not too. But you're right. From this trailer, I'm not seeing a whole lot of jumping around, dashing, switching to a different weapon. That's actually one thing that I have noticed. It looks like your shield's going to do a lot of the like your secondary, but you have your mace. So I'm curious to see how it's going to work out, or how it's going to go. I'm excited.
Yeah,
though,
man. I'm super excited. This is the the third iteration that we have of it. I mean, it can only branch out from here. I mean, we can still take it this direction of what happens after the fact, I guess, based on what we see at the end of the game. We can still continue it after Doom Eternal. So I feel like they've done a really good job so far with being able to continue this man's story without it seeming like drug out. I feel like we still have a lot to expand on by them kind of going back in time and tying more into this. They definitely, I don't know how well they've, if they thought about this in advance or they thought about it recently, but they're definitely tying this story together really well. And I think it leaves a lot for interpretation for, what could happen after this or what could happen after Doom Eternal. So they're definitely going a awesome direction with keeping this series going for as long as they have. I mean, we're talking 30, almost 35 years now, 30 plus years of this game being a thing that defined a genre and continues to define the genre. It's amazing, man. I'm glad to be alive at this time where we got to live through
saga.
Got to live through Doom and its glorious sprites of 1993 to where it is right now, dude. It's been an awesome journey.
It's something we didn't talk about in 2016, and we'll end this because I know everybody's been, everybody. Thank you for everybody who's been with us, hanging out with us so far on this, because this is probably our longest one we've done so far. We just really fucking love these games, and but that was one thing, when 2016. When Doom 2016 came out, the market was saturated with first-person shooters, man. Like, just every first-person shooter. It's military. It's you shoot, you hide behind cover, you self-regenerate. You shoot, you hide behind cover, you self-regenerate. It doesn't. You self-regenerate. Self-regenerate.
She sure.
But it was refreshing when this game came out. It was something very fast-paced. It was a lot different. And I think that was what made the learning curve happen. It made you change the way you played a first-person shooter because you just weren't prepped for it. You were like, okay, I'll just hide behind cover. There's no cover to be had in this game. Like, you need to go. Like, you can stand behind a wall for like 2 seconds, and then, dude, you got to move. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked about it. Mike, I really appreciate you giving us that download for lore, because it's not Dark Souls, so you know a lot more about this than I do. No, you've actually followed it more than I have. I do understand a lot of it, but it's good because I feel like the more you learn about a video game, the more you backstory you hear about it, you really start falling in love more with the excitement of the next game. It's like, dude, I want to know what happens. It's not just a matter of I just want to play the next game just to play it. I want to see what happens to Doomslayer. It's like, dude, I want to know what happened prior. So I really appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And
man.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, I'm glad to share the knowledge. I know I've went down a rabbit hole more than I mean, I can't even fathom how many times I've watched other people that I would love to give a shout out to that just they explained it and in the pages you find in the game, just tying all this together. And it's been a journey, and it's cool to it's been cool to experience so far. So yeah, with that being said, let's end it on that note.
Well, we still need to talk about Doom the movie with The Rock. Just fucking kidding. Guys, thank you so much for joining us with 8-Bit Breakdown. Make sure you follow us on all our channels. I have been Kevin. This is Mike. Mike, you want to go ahead and take us out?
Yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in again. As always, make sure to subscribe to our social media. And until next time, thank you for listening to 8-Bit Breakdown. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.